Welcome in. It is the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. I don't even care which episode it is, but we'll just call this the Michigan is the national champion episode. How does that sound, boys? What a ride. What a journey it's been in 2020. It was some dark, gloomy days. It felt like the Michigan football program was dead. There was some brain thoughts that crossed through my brain that I wanted Harbaugh gone, and I thought they should have went with Chris Kleiman. If Harbaugh were to leave, I still think Chris Kleiman would be a tremendous hire, and it would be awesome coaching my alma mater to my favorite college football team. And, it was dark. It felt like Michigan was going to be – they were going to be dead. They were never going to win a national title. They were never going to win a Big Ten championship. They were never going to beat Ohio State again. And after that 2-4 season, the 2020 COVID season, Ward Manuel sat Jim Harbaugh down in his office, gave him an ultimatum that you have to change or you're gone. And he made some tremendous changes to his staff, bringing in Mike Hart, bringing in Ron Bellamy, bringing in Mike McDonald, just to name a few. He got himself right. And Grant, I don't know if you remember this, but I texted you when Harbaugh had his first preseason press conference. He looked thinner. He looked a little bit more energetic. And I said, is it weird that I think Michigan's going to have a good season and surprise some people this year? And he said he was down to his playing weight. And just by what I was reading, I was feeling very confident, very positive. Even back in spring ball or in the spring, I was down in Deadwood. I ran into some guys that had Michigan hats on. We were celebrating Michigan just clinching the Big Ten title in basketball that night after they beat Michigan State. Oh boy, we won't discuss that. That's another program that needs to make a comeback. But we were saying that we liked the changes that they made, bringing in Mike Hart, yada, yada, yada. I already said that. And at Big Ten Media Days, Jim Harbaugh goes up at the podium and says, we're going to beat Ohio State or we're going to die trying. And oh boy, did all of the Michigan haters have their way with that, laughing at him, pointing at him, mocking him, saying he's delusional. Pete Feinbaum saying that there's something wrong in his brain, that he will never be able to beat Ohio State. And since that quote, he has gone 40-3 with 3 Big Ten championships, 3-0 versus Ohio State, and now a national championship.
Who are the 3 losses there, actually? Obviously,
Michigan State, Georgia, and TCU.
That's right. That game was in Lansing, right?
Yep.
That's right.
A questionable Aiden Hutchinson.
Was that roughing the passer call?
No, it was a strip sack that they said he was down, but it was what the ref called, whatever.
What the ref called.
Got him over the top, got him over to beat Ohio State. And what's crazy is all the congratulations that I have gotten, and people reaching out to me like I did something, like I was part of the team and I should be getting a championship ring. And, I guess my mom's not wrong about a lot of things. But all those years of me yelling at the TV for the team to play better has finally paid off with a national title. And, I could. And and Grant, also thank you to you for being my emotional support friend through all these vigorous games throughout the season. And I could address all the haters, all the naysayers, all the criers. I could talk about how Michigan State, their program is so bad they had paid a coach who's just a terrible, disgusting human being, and their program is down so bad they had to resort to picking up a below average FCS quarterback who was ran out of town because the fan base was sick of him.
A hockey fan base.
Yeah, I could talk about the Notre Dame fans, who their most meaningful win in the past 15 years as beating a 7-5 team who can't even tackle a school of the deaf and the blind if they were playing them. I could talk about the Georgia fans who, Georgia would have beat Michigan by 4 scores. Well, you couldn't even beat Alabama and Nick Saban. And you know what? Michigan killed Nick Saban, so you're welcome, SEC. And everybody in Michigan wanted their shot at Georgia, and they would have beaten Georgia. But I guess we'll never know what Georgia would have brought because they couldn't beat Alabama and a dead coach. I could talk about Ohio State, about how their only claim, the only reason Michigan was winning was because they knew their signals. And so much that Ryan Day had to cry to the NCAA and the Big Ten about thinking that, if I can just get Jim Harbaugh out of there, I've got him. Well, you know what? The program, the team, Ryan, is much bigger than any one person. And they played man football and bullied you the last 3 years, made you look like a bunch of little girls, so much that your star receiver that's going to be a top 5 pick showed up to the Heisman ceremony wearing a frickin' purse. Okay? You guys are little boys. The Big Ten, Michigan plays man football, and that's how it's going to be. So I could take that road, but I'm not gonna. My mom always told me to be humble. So I'm going to use this time to celebrate with the Michigan alum, my fellow Michigan fans, and enjoy this moment with them rather than listening to the rat poison that all those outlying teams do, because we've endured a lot. We've endured Rich Rod. We've endured the Brady Hoke years. We've endured losing to Appalachian State and Toledo and all other sorts of painful losses, the Ohio State losses, the trouble with the snap game, the 2016 game where JT was short. All of those games made this championship feel that much sweeter. I'm happy for the players. I'm happy for the coaches. I'm happy for the university because put the naysayers to rest, and it's Michigan holding up the national title like I said they would at the start of the year.
So where's what NFL job is Harbaugh getting?
I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just still trying to enjoy the win here, and we will cross that bridge when we get there. Jim Harbaugh, as far as I'm concerned, they should put a statue up of him. They could name this field at Michigan Stadium Harbaugh Field. It was just a incredible journey. Whatever he chooses to do, I will be happy and support him and be cheering for him no matter who he is coaching for.
Hey, but Dylan, there is one thing in the college football playoff era with 4 teams in that Ohio State did that Michigan never did.
Oh yeah, what's that?
That was lose a national championship game.
That's right. That is right. You know what's something? Michigan State, they also made the playoff, but they scored about as many points as Rutgers
in the University
Maryland
of Iowa.
did. Yeah. I'm not gonna kick Iowa while they're down. They've endured enough. But looking at the passing stats, looking at the stats from the previous games, Iowa threw for more yards against Michigan than Alabama did. So it begs the question, is Iowa better than Alabama?
So hold on. You're telling me Brian Ferentz is going to get the head job at Alabama now?
At least the OC.
At least the OC.
There is some connections there. Nick Saban and Kirk Ferentz did work on staff together.
They did work together
with the Cleveland Browns. So you can't rule it out until anything is official.
And I don't know if this was true or not, but there was a rumor that I made up that actually Kirk Ferentz deserves a national championship ring from Alabama's 2017 season from that whooping Iowa put on at Ohio State at Kinnick in November.
That was
correct.
Fun.
That was the 2017 game, and Ethan was there. He got to watch it in person.
Ethan was there. I wanted to go to that game, but Dylan, being the devout Michigan fan, says the only time I'll ever see Ohio State play is if they play Michigan. hindsight is always 2020, but that year we went to the wrong game.
We did.
One time that stadium physically shook. Was that first touchdown by Armani Hooker, first play of the game, pick 6.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I do remember, Grant, you and I, we were talking during that. We were watching that game. We were talking on the phone watching that game, and we both jumped up with excitement when he picked that off and took that to the house.
Correct. Fun fact for you guys. Fun story here. 2 times during that football season, fall of 2017, winter of 2018, we were living in the apartment at the time. Have I jumped off the couch in the Verge building and onto the coffee table? The Amani Hooker play, and then the Stephon Diggs Minneapolis Miracle play. I physically jumped onto the coffee table during both of those games.
both deservedly so to jump on a coffee table, I would say.
Correct.
So, but guys, let's dissect this game a little bit here. This was Joe Klatt has referred to Michigan as a boa constrictor all season, and that's kind of how this game felt. Tremendous defensive effort by the Wolverines. They didn't get many. I think they got 1 sack on the night, but they were continuously finding ways to get pressure on him, making Penix uncomfortable. You could tell because he missed a lot of throws that he normally makes, but he got happy feet. He felt pressure when there really wasn't pressure. Michigan did, I thought, a good job of mixing up coverages, and they limited explosive plays, which was the key that we all talked about into this game. They had 1 play of 45 yards, and Michigan the last couple of games, including the Ohio State game, the Iowa game, it was everybody knew Michigan was going to win that game, so they didn't really get out to a fast start. The playoff game, first play was an interception that got called back. Then they didn't get a first down. Then they fumble the punt return. Michigan got off to a fast start. Donovan Edwards picked a tremendous time to have his coming out party. In 23, two runs of 40+ yards in the first quarter really brought that crowd to life, got the sideline going. And then Michigan gets the ball back again, and they're driving again. And I think if the quarter doesn't end, as weird as it sounds, I think they still get a touchdown. I think going to a quarter break maybe just kind of killed that momentum, kind of brought that juice down. Washington was able to make a couple of adjustments. But, it was a game for me that, as tense as I was, I don't know if I would want to say I was nervous, but I was tense because there's always that little bit of doubt because, as I've mentioned, the 2016 Ohio State game, losing to Iowa in 2016, the trouble with the snap, yada, all those, there's still always that little bit of doubt that that we just haven't seen him get over the hump yet. But with the way the defense was playing, I was never truly nervous, crapping my pants nervous, because the worst thing that they could do at any point in the game was tie Michigan, and Michigan would get the ball back. And, the offense stalled for about 2 quarters, 2.5. And, JJ didn't probably play his best game, but similar to what he did against Alabama, when he needed to make plays, he did it. You look back at the 3rd and 8, backed up on their own goal line. He scrambles for 20 yards to get a first down, to get them out of the shadow of their own end zone, because that's when it turned into a bit of a field position game. And they ended up punting, but that set up better field position. And then the drive after that, they went out, and credit to Sharon Moore. I mean, you can't talk enough about the job he has done there as a play caller. If Harbaugh were to leave, I think that's the easy choice. And the other part of him taking over being the head coach for those last 3 games, he was managing 3 different jobs with 3 of the 4 most highly stressful positions as a coach. Is you're the offensive line coach because you're going to win and lose. You're going to take the blame if you lose, get all the credit if you win. More than likely, you're going to be the butt of the jokes. He was calling the plays, and he was being a head coach. That is not an easy job to do, managing all 3, and he did a tremendous job. and they got to drive when they had to. They go up 2 scores. They go up 2 scores with 7 minutes left, and Mikey Sanders still gets the interception. Just another gritty team guy. When you think of a Michigan man, you think of Mikey Sanders still, because was a receiver. His first 2 years he came on was in the program and switched over last year, and all he's done is make plays. Gives me some serious Jordan Lewis vibes. I don't think I've hardly ever seen him miss a tackle. Always there. Never lets the guys get away from him. And it was just an incredible effort, and crazy to think that 3 short years ago, a good handful of Michigan fans wanted Harbaugh gone, just to see the program, the culture shift, and believing in each other and accountability. And you could tell that how much love the players had for everybody on that team. They talked about it after the Rose Bowl game, how one of the reporters was saying how she noticed that the first things they were saying to each other is that they loved each other. And that's a tough team to beat when you guys are there truly is selfless football, playing for each other and playing for one another.
Well, I was wrong on pretty much everything I said. So I mean, kudos to Michigan there. But I legitimately did think when Washington closed it to 17-10 right before half that they were going to win. I thought Michigan had kind of screwed the pooch there. They kind of played with their food, I guess you could say, at first. But they came back. They made the play, obviously, at the beginning of the second half and rolled from there. It never really was in question after that.
Yeah, that was a huge play to kind of gain back momentum. They only got a field goal out of it. But, I mean, just to get point, that's a potentially a 10-point swing there, because if they go down and get a touchdown – it's a tie game, but Michigan was able to get a field goal, make it to 2 possessions, and then they just they refused to give up anything big. And Washington had a couple of chances, and Penix just missed them.
Well, yeah, and at that point, guys, Washington kind of finally realized, Michigan's playing us deep. They're not going to let us get these big shots, get these chunk plays. Michigan said, you know what? Hey, we're not going to let Washington beat us deep. It's what the Chiefs had to adjust to in 2021, and Washington finally realized, hey, let's dump it off to the fullback. Let's dump it off to the tight end or the running back. And if we got to go 7, 10 yards of play and just slowly take our time down the field, that's what we got to do. But then, the interception happens, Michigan gets that field goal, and they get the lead again. And you just felt Washington then realized, you know what, we need to start catching up with these guys, because they're not going to let us. If we do that, we're going to go take up way too much time. But then also at that point, Washington's defense, they couldn't stop Michigan. They couldn't stop that running game. Michigan, like you said, Dylan, boa constrictor. They're just going to lean, and they're going to wear you out. And you could tell they had that confidence after that field goal that they were going to be able to do that, all game. And kind of everything like what I said happened. I thought Jesse Minter and his staff with that NFL background was going to use a variety of different coverages and having pressure coming from, anywhere and everywhere, that Washington's O-line wasn't going to be able to hold up and Penix was going to get hit. Like you said, Dylan, you get hit enough times as a quarterback, you start seeing ghosts. And then when someone's actually 3 steps away from you, you think they're a step away from you because you're worried about getting hit again. And it doesn't help that Michael Penix is a smaller framed quarterback. You're taking shots from these big 4th and 5th year senior defensive linemen from Michigan who are just big, strong men. It wears on you mentally with that. And then also Washington's right tackle he was getting just beat like an absolute war drum in that game. 73. He was a liability there. And most of the time you're like, it's the right tackle. It's whatever. That's Penix's blind side. He can't see the pressure coming from backside. And when you see that happening, it just wears on you. And, kind of like what we said, Dylan, Michigan, they were just bigger, faster, and stronger. And they're just going to wear on you. And eventually your will to live is going to break. And it broke in the 4th quarter there. And, they ran away with this thing. And people can say, oh, Michigan had almost 300 yards rushing. And, 3 of them were on, the 40-yard touchdown runs and then Corum 60-yarder. Well, on every other carry, they still got a total of 162 yards on the ground. So they dominated the front all game. And I can't say I'm surprised in what happened.
Yeah. Well, Mark Schlereth talks about this all the time because he'll have teams contact him about wanting to help out in their run game, and he'll call him out and say, "Do you guys really want to run the ball?" "Yeah, we want to run the ball." "Well, do you really want to run the ball? Because you guys will run the ball 3 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, and then you'll just abandon it and say, 'Oh, we can't get anything going.' But you'll throw 3 straight passes, 3 incomplete, and you'll still stick with the pass." The run game, I mean, the explosive plays are a luxury, especially early on in the game. You can't just rely and expect that to happen all the time because that's just not the way football works. Especially early on, is go where you're supposed to go. If you're the running back, take those 3-4 yards, because those continuous 3-4 yards a pop wears on a defensive line and tires them out, because and keeping them on the field for those 10, 15 play drives, that is a lot more exhausting. They give up one big play. It's, oh, hey, we gave up a big play. Let's go get them the next time, because you're not going to get a 60-yard play every time. Unless you're playing USC's defense, then you might. But most normal football, and if you're playing in the college football playoff, there's a good chance that you have a respectable defense.
Correct. And also, coming into this game, this was kind of, I think, a problem Washington's had all year. In their first meeting, Oregon was big and physical with them, and they got them moving. And everyone else throughout the game, they were playing all these one-possession games with Washington, where their rush defense was a little suspect. We saw Texas in the second half, in the semifinal game, get 7 yards a carry at ease whenever they wanted to. They just had 2 big turnovers, and Texas's defense led up the big play. So we, coming into this, we knew Michigan had the advantage, and this was a Washington weakness. And Michigan exploited that. It was the perfect game plan for them. It was the perfect game for them, and they executed it perfectly.
Yeah. Well, and like with the Oregon thing, a lot of Oregon's run game is based up off of RPOs, where you're basically doing pre-snap reads of the defense, and you can take those runs away, where all you're doing is you're taking the run away, so they're gonna throw it, and you can live with a 3-4 yard screen pass.
Correct.
And that's where Oregon messed up is they were too RPO heavy, and they just didn't have enough designed runs to counter it, because if Oregon decided we're just going to play run through your mouth football, I think Oregon is the one playing for a national title. But
100%.
But and the other part too is the Dylan Johnson injury played a huge factor in that game. Him being hurt, not being able to be 100% definitely changed, because they weren't after him. They didn't have the running back depth to trust anyone to run the ball, or somebody that could go and get 4 or 5 yards a pop.
Which is kind of crazy to think. That's like one of the deeper positions you would think, but yet they had nobody that was even somewhat capable.
Well, two years ago, this is Kalen DeBoer's only his second year at Washington. The year before that, they had Jimmy Lake, and I mean that was a 4-8 team, and there's a reason he got fired. So, I think that Washington's not going anywhere. I think Kalen DeBoer, he is a program culture builder, and he's going to build that thing up to where they're going to get on that top level. I firmly believe, because everywhere Kalen DeBoer has gone, he has won, and he's done it that way. So, I think the best is yet to come for Washington, and I still think there's plenty more for Michigan. But, boys, we got one of the most exciting weekends of the year. I would rival this to the opening weekend of March Madness. That's really the only other, I guess, New Year's Day with the college football playoff games. But wild card weekend, opening weekend of March Madness, first round of college football playoff, the college football playoff semis. Whenever the 12-team playoff takes off next year, that opening weekend is going to be bonkers and very exciting.
Those four games next year?
Yeah. And we got a wild card weekend. We're previewing all of them, predicting winners, and then we're gonna wrap up with Curveball of the week here. And maybe before we get to Curveball, we will talk. You guys good talking about the Nick Saban retirement?
Sure.
You have to.
All right. Yeah, we do. It was, funeral because Michigan killed him. But we'll start on Saturday. First game of the day on Saturday. Texans versus Browns, which it's going to be cold as balls all weekend. In Dickinson, it is a high of -14, and that's not without the windshield, judging by my weather app on my phone. It is supposed to be windy, so it's going to feel like -40. And not looking forward to it, but I'm just going to hang out and chill. Maybe buy myself a case of Old Milwaukee's and watch football all afternoon and during the day. So Texans versus Browns. Browns are 2.5-point favorites. This game's at 2:30 on NBC on Saturday. The point total for the game's 44.5. Couple big things here is DeMeco Ryans probably going to win Coach of the Year. CJ Stroud is going to win Rookie of the Year. Tremendous season, tremendous turnaround by those two. And I said that the biggest thing with DeMeco Ryans was getting that quarterback right. He did that. He's got a leader on both the offense and defense in drafting Will Anderson. Texans won a thriller Saturday night. And, the Browns, they rested Joe Flacco. I'm curious if that takes him out of his rhythm. He's been playing so well. I understand why Stefanski did it, and it's only going to matter if they lose this game. But I think the big thing that I have written down here is this is, especially in these games, these coordinator matchups are huge. What is Jim Schwartz going to do to a rookie quarterback? What's he going to do to confuse CJ Stroud? How are they going to protect him? Because going up against Myles Garrett is never easy. How does Jim Schwartz is it Jim Schwartz?
Jim Schwartz.
I don't know why I had Jeff Schwartz in my brain, but yes, Jim Schwartz. What's he gonna do on the defensive end? I think that this is a bad matchup for the Texans just based off of that, because he feasts on rookie quarterbacks, and I think I saw a stat that in playoff games, rookie quarterbacks are 17-35 in their opening when they make their playoff debuts. So we'll give you let you guys do your thoughts, and then we'll come back around and do our predictions for the game.
I just think Stroud's playing it, even since his concussion, playing at a high level, making all the throws. Nothing seems to bother him. I mean, first though, in the literally win or go home game, 75-yard bomb on Saturday. So I don't think the lights are too big for him. Rookie quarterbacks, it has to be a little daunting going into an environment like the Dog Pound. But
no, game's in Houston.
So different. Oh, the game is in Houston. That's right. I keep forgetting that.
AFC South Division champs.
Right. That's right. Yeah, they're at home. Heck, that's even better for him.
I think the big thing for me, guys, is, Dylan, you mentioned Jim Schwartz. Move Myles Garrett all around that Houston offensive line, except one spot. He's never rushing right defensive end. He's going nowhere near Laramie Tunsil. I'm not putting my best on their best. That's just stupid.
No.
No. Just
praise for that.
Just exactly. Just in this, like in the Serengeti. I'm not going to attack the biggest, strongest water buffalo. I'm attacking the young, the sick, and the old. I'm letting Myles do his thing, go up and down, find a weakness like J.J. Watt did, and I'm attacking that guy all game. And if he can, I think the weakness for this Houston offensive line after watching last week's game is in the middle. Let Myles rush on the inside, because then it gets him to C.J. Stroud quicker. Nothing a quarterback hates more than pressure up the middle. In this Browns secondary, that has a bunch of bad dudes on there. They're not going to be afraid of Nico Collins. I don't know if Robert Woods is going to play, but Denzel Ward, Juan Thornhill, Greg Newsome, Grant Delpit, all those dudes
just had his window open. So I mean, there's a chance he plays. I doubt it, but there's a chance.
But yeah, I mean, this secondary is just a bunch of bad dudes, and if Schwartz can get Garrett lining up all over the place where they don't know where to stop him, where to send that double team, could be a long day for CJ. And then if I'm the Texans, when I'm facing Flacco, I'm taking away the middle of the field. I'm not letting David Njoku get going. Because when Flacco was in Baltimore, he was throwing to Dennis Pitta and Owen Daniels when he came over there from the Texans. He was attacking the middle of the field. I'm making him throw outside the numbers. Make him have those high, tough completion percentage passes, tough throws. And I don't want him to get comfortable. Because if he finds Njoku in the middle and he gets cooking, it's going to be a long day in Houston.
Yeah, I'm prediction time. I think the coordinator, I think Myles Garrett is going to be too much for Houston. I think that the groundwork has been laid for the Texans. They aren't going anywhere. They have taken over the favorites of the AFC South. I think CJ Stroud is already the best quarterback in the AFC South. Mm-hmm. But I think they're still almost a year away. I think they get a little bit healthier. They improve that offensive line a little bit. I think in the end, I like the Browns to win 23-20.
All right. I'm going with the rookie. I'm going with the better quarterback. I think Stroud is better than Flacco right now, so I'm rolling with it. But I think Stingley shadows Cooper. I think he kind of shuts him down. That takes one option away. Like Grant said, cover the middle too. So I think Blake Cashman is going to have a big game. I think he's going to have a scoop and score. That's my prediction. I'm going 24-13, Houston.
Oh, wow. 2-possession game.
Kind of just like last week, guys. Football's a simple game. The team with the better offensive line and the better defensive line always wins. Cleveland's run game is awesome. Myles Garrett and that defense is fantastic. My secondary is the best in the NFL. Their defense is the best in the NFL this year. Give me the Browns, 27-16.
Okay, 27-16.
Game, Dylan. I don't know if you're watching the T-Wolves game. T-Wolves are up 2 right now. They just started overtime, and we're down 2 starters at Boston.
In Boston, and coming off a game last night,
and coming off a back-to-back. Pat just got
where they actually had to stay. They stayed in Orlando because of the snowstorms or something that are
4:00 Boston time.
That's it's a high school game.
That's like 4 hours before the game.
Jeez, because there was talk that they were supposed to land at like 11 or something. Dang.
Yeah, they didn't get there then. Let's go. Come on, we just gotta stop.
Wow. But I talked about, and this hurts me a little bit to say. I said that CJ Stroud has already surpassed Trevor Lawrence as the best quarterback in the AFC South, and the Jaguars. I can't believe I was dumb enough to fall for that trap again, to go and pick them to win, be the 2 seed in the AFC for all that. So maybe we all jinxed them because I think we were all high on the Jags this year, but
also
we should have been.
In our defense, you look at CJ Stroud's first preseason game against the Patriots, the dude looked lost. Like it had 4-13 written all over for Houston this year.
So bad.
We all knew the troubles that Tennessee was going to be in, and with the Colts, Steichen's coming over. You really don't have any good skill players outside Pittman. You have no one on defense. What's AR-15 going to be like? Then he gets hurt. Well, I guess, and Steichen, again, it's his first year. You have to take Jacksonville, Dylan. Everyone looks like fools. There's no person outside of the Houston Metropolitan that said the Texans would have won this division this year. No one person.
I think it's time Trevor cuts his hair. You're the face of the franchise. You know, it was cool to be the surfer boy, you know, the long, shaggy hair, what you're known for. But now you're the face of the franchise. You got to act like an adult. You don't need the long hair. It gets in the way of what you can see. You can't. I mean, he regressed this year, like terribly. It was like it's like what we saw with Carson Wentz at the end of his Eagles tenure. Mm-hmm. Maybe Doug Peterson just is good at reviving things, but he's not a finisher.
That's a common denominator right there, folks.
Yeah. So Trevor Lawrence needs to cut his hair, and maybe Doug Peterson needs to go.
Is this your thing? Like Cowherd is an anti-backwards hat guy. Are you saying you want your quarterbacks clean cut with a fresh haircut?
Yeah,
no California.
I am.
No California surfer. Yeah, bro. Let's get some za. As my franchise
quarterback. It's cool if you're a receiver, but not when you're the quarterback. I want my quarterback to be an adult. I want him to be a grown-up. I want him at the podium wearing a suit and tie after each game.
All right, we found Dylan's shtick.
That's right.
We found a shtick for a franchise quarterback.
You named it. Nailed it. So let's go down to the second game on Saturday, and this one is exclusively on the cock. There it is, Chiefs-Dolphins. I don't know if we've heard yet if Taylor Swift is going to be there, but if she is, it's the first time we'll ever see her on a cock.
Oh God, it was too easy. It was right there, folks. He just soft tossed it up to himself.
Well, it's going to be a cold cock too because it's projected 0 degrees at kickoff.
Going to be a little small too.
Yeah, very, 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 very shriveled here. But actually talking about the game, and it's a shame, Ethan. I don't know if he heard my jokes, but they were pretty good.
No, I didn't. I was Hannah spilled Gatorade on the bed, so I was cleaning that up.
Oh, Hannah. But this game is exclusively on the cock, Ethan, on Peacock.
on the cock.
Yeah, and I don't know. We haven't heard if Taylor Swift is going to be in attendance, but it's the first time we will ever see her on a cock.
True.
I'm never using Peacock ever again, Dylan. It's always going to be the cock.
Yep. Yeah, I'm watching Yellowstone on the cock.
It makes total sense.
Oh, it's just perfect.
Thank you. But let's actually talk the game rather than talking about the irrelevant Taylor Swift, who only is famous because she's dating Travis Kelce, who has ruined Travis Kelce's career. But Miami is coming off 2 brutal losses back-to-back. Their defense, I don't know if they're going to have anybody to throw out there. I mean, at this bet, they're basically left with throwing us 3 out there and seeing what we can do. But
I was just going to make that joke. Like, they're one more injury away from calling us to play defense for them.
That's not good. I don't think I would do very well against I would be okay against Kadarius Toney because he can't catch anything, but Rashee Rice, I would be screwed trying to tackle Isaiah Pacheco in the open field. We wouldn't stand a chance.
Dylan, you know what would terrify me the most is watching Big Trey Smith come at us when they're running a middle screen.
Yeah. No. I haven't had it to that extent, but we did have a pretty big tackle running when I was in high school playing, and we had about a 6'7" dude who was originally committed to play at NDSU, and anytime they would run screens, it would always be to my side, and he'd be coming, and it's like,
Dylan's like, I'm not blocking.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, do I just lay down and die? Like,
yeah. That was the problem though too. Is like I can't just lay down and dive because he'll probably like trip and break his knee, and it'll be all my fault. And he is a lot more valuable to the team than I am, so I guess I'll just get my ass kicked.
That's fair.
But, Miami, back-to-back brutal losses. They lose this one in heartbreaking fashion where they were up and then they don't score in the second half. They refused. They got away from running HN, who was averaging like 10 yards a carry. It sounds like Mostert and Waddle are going to be back, and that'll be huge for them. But It's going to be a cold game. And to the Dolphins' credit, in these similar spots, we've seen it where, they've been humiliated, they've been blown out, or they've lost some tough games. They have battled back and found ways to make it competitive, where you go look at the wild card game against the Bills last year when they were down to their fourth string quarterback. And when it was also extremely cold. I think this is going to be a low scoring game. Defensively, if for the Dolphins, if this game was last year, actually any year prior to this year, the Chiefs would win like 45-3. But I think this defense is going to bow up. They're going to make some stops. This Chiefs offense is not what it used to be. But Pat Mahomes is still on that sideline. He's going to make some plays. It felt like for a while, or these last couple of games, that the Chiefs have found something, especially in the Bengals game, getting Rashee Rice, that long catch and run that he had, gave them a little bit of a spark. You saw them play a little bit more, with a little more pep in their step, a little more juice. We'll see if they can pick that up. But I think this is going to be a field position game. I believe it's going to be a little bit windy there too. I think this game is going to be a game of, and I think this game is going to be a game of field goals. I think this is going to be a drive 20-20, and team that's going to come away with touchdowns is going to win. But what are your guys' keys to the game?
Well, if the Chiefs receivers can show any sort of life, I think they win this game relatively easily, so they don't have to rely on Pacheco and screens the whole time. Because, like you guys mentioned, Miami's defense is just decimated. Chubb's gone. I don't think Howard's going to play. So who the hell?
He's the linebacker. I'm trying to think of his name too.
Jerome Baker. He's out.
Yeah, he's out.
Like literally every one of their guys that's actually somewhat decent on defense is out. Plus, their offense hasn't been that great the last couple of weeks, and I don't think Tua can play in the cold. I don't know how many games he's played in the cold, but it can't be too many.
I have that stat, Ethan. He's played 4 games when I think it's 5 games where the temperature was below 45 degrees. He's 1-4.
Yeah, he just doesn't seem like a player that can play in the cold. Being down in Miami, Alabama, you name it. I think Chiefs win it probably 27 to, let's do 19.
Guys, and another thing no one's talking about in the media in this game, because, again, the media in this country sucks, but the Dolphins just had that tough, physical, emotional game on Sunday night. They got to play now on Saturday. They got the short week. They got to get on a plane ride. Like we said, the people who can play are all banged up. They got to get on a plane. That's one thing that no one's talking about. Just a quick turnaround for those guys. They don't even get a whole week to get going. And I think for me, the Dolphins need to force at least 2 turnovers in this game to win. When they played in Week 9 in Germany, they got a strip sack, off Mahomes in the second half, and then that drive led to a touchdown. If they don't turn the Chiefs over and the Chiefs don't implode like they have done, and for the most part in the second half of this year, I don't see the Dolphins winning, because I think they need to muster up some offense, get some confidence going, their way. And for the Chiefs, they're playing Vic Fangio's defense. This is defense that they've played a bunch in these last 4 years. They know what the Dolphins are going to do. They know where everyone's going to be. And if you just can't get pressure on Mahomes or turn him over, they're going to move the ball, like you said, Dylan. And, sure, drives might end in field goals, but they're going to move the ball, and they're going to get things going like that. And, Dylan, like you said, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Miami needs to stick to the running game. And just in this aspect, then you get those complementary plays and those deep shots where you can use Jalen Waddle's speed and Tyreek Hill down the field, because you're doing play action, you're faking the toss to the running backs and everything else like that. But for some reason they're thinking like Philadelphia now. Hey, Jalen Hurts needs to be MVP. Tua needs to be MVP or be the leader in the Pro Bowl vote. So we're gonna chuck it, 40 times a game. That's just silly. And Dylan, kind of just like what you said, this Chiefs offense, if they want to be successful in the playoffs this year, it has to be like what Kansas City's offense was in 2014 to 2016. Run the ball with a lot of Pacheco, get the play action game going, short, quick passes to your receivers, and then getting Kelsey in the middle of the field with the running game going. And then lastly, I think for the Chiefs, they had 3 sacks this first meeting. That's great and all. I don't know if they'll be able to do that again because Tua gets the ball out so quick. But the Chiefs defense is going to have to bat balls down at the line of scrimmage. Chris Jones is great at that. George Karlaftis, his first 2 years in the NFL. Charles Omenihu used those big, long arms to get in the passing lane to knock passes down. And Tua is not a big guy, so he might not be able to get the ball over, the extended reach of that Chiefs defensive line. And if they can do that and maybe knock 3 to 4 passes down, they got a good chance to win.
The other thing that we haven't discussed yet, this is a potential Tyreek Hill revenge game because he's making his first appearance back at Arrowhead since he was traded there in the 2022 offseason. But he's also banged up. He has got all sorts of injuries. Why was I going to say industries?
Injury.
Yeah. He's got a shoulder. He's got an ankle. His house just burned down. He's got all sorts of distractions. I think the Chiefs defense, I think the Chiefs are going to get out to a hot start. I think Andy Reid, he's always good in these games. I think he's going to have them at their best. I think they're going to get the ball. They're going to go down the field and score. And I think the Dolphins are going to be chasing them all game. I think this is close, going for about 2.5 quarters. And I think in the end, I think the Chiefs are going to be able to lean on him and let that pass rush tee off where Chiefs can get a 2-possession lead. I like the Chiefs to win this game 26-13.
There you go.
Yeah, and kind of like I said, guys, I think it's going to be cold. It's going to be a defensive game. This Chiefs offense is going to be like I said, 2014 to 2016. A lot of Pacheco, a lot of play action pass. Mahomes is going to have all day because the top 3 pass rushers for the Dolphins are gone. It sounds like Donovan Smith is going to come back to play, which is big because, Wanya Morris hasn't practiced today with a concussion. I like Spags to have multiple different coverages out there to confuse Tua and, again, not let Tyreek take the deep ball to the house. So give me the Chiefs 26-16 on Saturday.
26-16. All right, that is a clean sweep, so the Dolphins are definitely going to win. So we got that. Now, let's go over to the Sunday games. The opening game on Sunday is Bills versus Steelers in Buffalo. Bills 10-point favorites. Total is 36.5. Which is fitting because we've got an Iowa uniform in this game. The 11 a.m. Mountain Time CBS game. Now, Mason Rudolph is going to be the starter for the Steelers, giving them a much-needed jolt on offense. We've seen the best out of Najee Harris, George Pickens since they've came back. The Bills have just, outside of the Dallas game, they've kind of been what they've been all year, where they've moved the ball, but very turnover prone, very inconsistent, but something about the Bills. They've been in these spots before. They know how to win, and they've found ways to gut it out and found a way to win these games that if they keep it close, they believe that they're going to find a way to pull it out. But right now, the big question mark right now is TJ Watt going to play, and it does not sound like he will be dressing on Sunday. And to me, that's probably the biggest factor in this game is TJ Watt is out, and they have a 1-10 record when he doesn't play.
Oof. That doesn't help them.
No. This is a game that you need him.
Well, I think the only way the Steelers pull it off is if they force multiple turnovers. I mean, obviously Josh Allen turns it over more than probably any quarterback, I believe, in the last couple of years. But they're probably going to need at least 3 of them. And they're going to need short fields because they're not going to go the length of the field. They had a couple explosive plays versus Baltimore's reserves last week. I don't see that happening. Allen has 18 picks. If they get 2 more out of him, maybe a fumble recovery, they have a shot. But they're going to have to get a lot of short fields and take advantage of them because field goals aren't going to win it.
Well, yeah, Ethan, I had the same thing written down. The Steelers, they need 3 turnovers to win this game, and then the crazy stat in the year, the Steelers, they had a minus 20-point differential this year, and 14 of their 17 games they had less yards than their opponents. Yeah, that's not going to cut it this week.
No.
Buffalo, as long as you don't turn the ball over, you're going to win this game. Punts are good because the Steelers, this offense is not going 70 yards, down the field. And Dylan, like you said, the Steelers without T.J. Watt, they're a 4-13 team. This is the one game this weekend where it could be a snoozer. Maybe about a little after halftime, everyone can take a nap and get ready for the afternoon and evening games. But this just seems like a mismatch. And as long as the Bills don't get in the Bills' way, they should win this thing handily.
What's the score prediction?
I got 27-10 Buffalo.
27-10
Buffalo. 31-13 Buffalo.
All right. I have 27-16 Buffalo. I think the Steelers defense will get a turnover or 2, but they need to for them to have a shot to win, they need to turn those turnovers into touchdowns. They can't settle for field goals, which I think that's what is going to happen. So that's why I have it.
And their defense might just have to score, guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not even be enough. So let's go to the Sunday afternoon game then, where the Dallas Cowboys host the Green Bay Packers. Cowboys are 7.5-point favorites. The over/under on this one is 50.5, which if we had an early favorite for the over, I like this game. I like this game a lot for the over. I think we're going to have a really good feeling about how this game is going to go for Dallas in the first 10 minutes, because the last time Dallas had a home playoff game, it was in this time slot, and it was on my birthday, and they ruined my birthday because they came out flat. They had 15 turnovers. And within the first 10 minutes, they were already down 2 scores. They had to play from behind, and thankfully Jimmy Garoppolo decided to turn the ball over a couple of times to even give them some hope here. But for me, this game, fast start if you're Dallas, because get up, get the lead, let that pass rush tee off against Jordan Love, because you've seen on all the talk shows of guys talking, former quarterbacks who have been in the playoffs talk about how much different, how much faster these playoff games are, and why rookies have their first time quarterbacks who are playing in their first playoff game have a 17-35 record. Get pressure on Jordan Love. See how he responds when you hit him in the mouth a couple of times. Get the crowd engaged. They're already calling for a whiteout, which is crazy to think that stadium has actually developed a home field advantage under Mike McCarthy. Hopefully they're able to utilize it. Make Jordan Love try and beat you. I think the other thing too is they got to shut down the run. Aaron Jones is from Texas. The last time he played in that stadium, he went off for 4 touchdowns. Cannot let him get going, because that's going to open up all sorts of things for Jordan Love, especially if Christian Watson is back, which there is some buzz that he will be back. In the last time he played the Cowboys, he had his breakout game. But did I mention that the Cowboys needed to get out to a fast start in this game?
Yeah.
May have mentioned that once or twice.
Yeah, a couple times.
Okay.
But I'm going to piggyback right off what you said, and it goes right to the run game. Aaron Jones, 3 straight 100-plus yard games is really what fuels this offense. And it makes Love's job that much easier. These receivers, they don't beat a lot of one-on-one coverage. It's just kind of like what Michigan had to do. They scheme them open a lot. But they're good. Reed has been a beast.
They've got some
dudes.
That offense has dudes.
They
got some dudes.
They got a lot of good players, and they're all young as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like Dylan said, Dallas has to get to a quick start. Dak can't turn it over multiple times because the Packers make you pay for that. Look at the Vikings game. I think they scored twice off their turnovers, if I remember correctly.
Which he has done a good job of this year, is not turning the ball over.
He has.
Didn't he lead? He led the league in interceptions last year, correct?
I think so.
Yes, and he only played in 12 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Love showed up on maybe further down on a few MVP votes.
Now that is a hot take right there, folks.
I think he could be like top 6 or 7, right around there, top 5 to 6.
Okay.
Not like a first round, like a first pick, but or first whatever. But
no, I know what you're saying.
And right now, I am not seeing Christian Watson on the injury report for Green Bay. So that sounds as if he is going to be back.
Well, yeah, that's totally a win for the Packers. But for me, guys, here, I'm gonna go to where I talk about. It seems like every game where it needs to be. This is a game where Green Bay's offensive line has to play the best game of the year. You listen to Greg Olsen talk, and Romo talk, and Collinsworth, all the announcers who do these Packers games, they talk about how their strength is pass blocking. Well, you're going to need it tonight because this Dallas pass rush at home is absolutely nasty. And if I'm Dallas, you don't want to let Jordan Love get that confidence going where he's throwing passes off both of his feet. He's throwing completions to 6 different receivers. You don't know who to scheme up and who to stop because the Packers truly don't have a number one, but they just have a lot of good young players who can get open. And LaFleur is doing a great job with his play calling and being creative and having a flow with the game. So if the Packers O-line can hold up and Dallas can't get home, the Packers' chance of winning is great. But if Dallas gets home and the Packers can't hold up, it could be a long day, for Jordan Love. And then also, if I'm Dallas on offense, get CeeDee Lamb the ball often and early. He's the best player on the field. Let 88 get cooking. Let's not have a Miami game where he gets the balls 5 times in the first quarter and he doesn't catch another pass again until the fourth quarter. That's unacceptable. Against Green Bay's defense, that is weak. Their secondary's given up a lot of plays. They let the Panthers this year score 30 points. If I'm Mike, I'm coming out and I'm throwing early. I'm throwing to set up the run. I'm making Green Bay have to go back and sit in that cover 2 shell where I'm worried about having the deep shots taken on me, and then I let Tony Pollard get going. With that. Have the pass to set up the run and hopefully continue the trend this year of Dallas being an absolute juggernaut at home. And then get Dylan, like you said, get that crowd going and let DeMarcus and Micah tee off on the other end.
Yeah. And even like last week, we finally saw a little bit of a pep in the step, a little bit of juice from Tony Pollard, looking like he did last year, having a little bit more juice. Maybe he's finally fully healed. And the CeeDee Lamb part too is because especially in these big games, whether you go back to the last 2 years when they've been knocked out of by the 49ers, is Mike McCarthy forgets that they forget that they have CeeDee Lamb on the field and they need to use him because he is what makes that offense go. I don't know if he is the best receiver in the NFL. I'm not ready to go that far, but this year he has probably been the best receiver in the NFL this year. And for predictions,
one more thing I want to add.
And then you can do predictions.
Okay,
lead us off.
Yep, like you talk about all the time. Dallas needs to finish drives in the red zone with touchdowns. Make Jordan Love play catch up with you. That's been one of your biggest gripes all year with Dallas. They move the ball 20-20, but they don't finish drives off. Keep the pressure on Jordan Love and LaFleur. It's his first playoff start. Matt hasn't had a whole lot of success in the playoffs. His last 2 games are going to keep him up at night. And keep the pressure on him, score touchdowns, and make Jordan Love be perfect in his first game. But with that being said, I think Dallas's pass rush is too much. They have been a juggernaut at home this year. Dak is comfortable. Joe Barry's last game as Green Bay's defensive coordinator, Dallas gets the win 31-20.
Right. Dylan, I swear to God, I'm not picking against your teams this week just for shits and gigs.
That's fine. Keep doing it.
But, maybe one time I'll get it right. I'm going 28-24 Packers. I think Love does not great, plays well enough. Aaron Jones compliments him really well. And I think Dak throws a pick 6. That really gets the game going for the Packers.
Well, if it's 28-24, that would be the difference. And that would be some evil juice that the Packers have against the Cowboys, because
and the shitty luck,
especially in that stadium, because they have not lost. They've never lost. I don't think they've ever lost in that stadium.
They've never lost in that stadium, including a Super Bowl.
Well, then, boys,
sounds like shit.
My prediction is up here, and all this, the Packers are playing great. They've played great the last 3 games. Do you know who they've played? They've played the Bears, who's their quarterback is going to be a backup next year, or at least should be. The Vikings, who are on their 4th string quarterback, who probably Jaron Hall or Nick Mullins probably won't even be in the league next year. And then they played the Panthers, who I'm going to be optimistic about Bryce Young, and they gave up 30 points to him against a lowly Panthers team that was a disaster on the field and off the field. Joe Barry is still the defensive coordinator. The Fire Barry chants, because I'm guessing there's going to be a fairly decent contingent of Packer fans. They're going to start chanting every time the Cowboys score, because that just means there's one more touchdown. They're one touchdown closer to Joe Barry being gone. I think all the things I highlighted, I think they're going to get out to a fast start. I think they're going to get up to a good lead. I think they're going to play from in front, and the Packers are going to have to be playing catch up, and that's going to get Jordan Love to throw an ugly turnover. I like the Cowboys winning, and I was going to go conservative on this. I bounced back and forth, but I'm going to go with what I wrote down. Cowboys win 41-24.
All right.
I like it.
So then let's get to the Sunday night game, boys. Lions versus Rams, the Matthew Stafford homecoming game. Lions are 3-point favorites. The total's 51.5, 6 p.m. on NBC Mountain Time. This is the first home playoff game in Detroit since 1993.
Wild.
And the times have been good in the state of Michigan. Michigan winning the national championship. Stafford's coming back. And frankly, it's the right choice as to why this is the Sunday night game.
Hey, the Pistons won a game a week ago.
True.
The Pistons won a game
They're only 3-33 now.
Michigan's basketball team is one loss closer to Juwan Howard's ass getting out of there. Vibes are high in the state of Michigan. But all those things I just said, though, how does Detroit handle this? How do they come out? Because this is still a fairly young team. They still have some lines in them where they come out a little bit emotional. How they need to keep their emotions in check, stay poised, and not let all the hoopla around it, all the lights that have been brought on them, which is well deserved. They've done a tremendous job. But they can't let that get to them, because once that ball kicks off, it is just any old football game that you were playing in your backyard since you were 6 years old. They need to keep that, and because you've seen it at times where these young teams, they come out all juiced up, and then they get a turnover, and then just snowballs, and they get the doors blown off them. This is going to be a game of pass rushes. Can the Detroit pass rush get to Stafford? How will the Rams get pressure on Jared Goff, a guy that they know very well? I fully expect them to not let Jared Goff get into a play action game where the Lions are a balanced attack. They want to get it to a drop back pass game where that pass rush can tee off and they just can start hitting them in the mouth. I think the total is 51.5. But I think these defenses are going to show up. I think there's going to be a lot of nervous energy in the building too. So if I said the Cowboys game going to be an over, I like this game to be an under for this week, but I'll let you guys go, and then we'll bring her back with our predictions.
Well, everyone's talking about how Stafford's going back to Detroit. A lot of people are missing the point. Goff's playing his former team that gave up on him too. This is definitely a two-sided thing here. This is like one of the bigger matchups, I feel like, in recent time.
It's the best game of the weekend.
It is.
Yes.
It really is. Just the stories, everything out of it is incredible. But the Lions defense has to play better. Like Dylan, you said they need to. You think they're going to show up? They've given up 800 yards to Nick Mullins in 2 games. Like, not saying the Rams are going to go out there and just light it up because they actually believe in the run game, unlike the Vikings, and they have a good running back in Kyren Williams. So like they can do both. But yeah, who's going to turn it over and what defensive line is going to step up? Like you mentioned, can Aiden Hutchinson make a big play? Can Aaron Donald make a couple big plays? Like that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to the quarterbacks in a way, I guess. But really, whatever defense picks it up better is going to be able to walk away.
Well, yeah, and guys, one aspect of this Rams teams this year that no one's talking about is low key, like how stingy their run defense is. Teams do not run the ball on the Rams at all this year. They have yet to give up a 100-yard rusher. The best performer of the year was DeAndre Swift. I think I saw he had 17 carries for 77 yards.
Sounds about right.
If the Lions can't get the run game going and they can't get the play action where Goff is comfortable and he's on the move, it could be a long game, for the Lions. That's the key right there. And another thing for me, who's going to be the Lions' number 2 if Sam Laporta can't play? Because if he's out and Raheem Morris is going to double team Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's going to step up to be that second guy to get the Lions, some juice? It's going to be Jameson Williams. It's going to be Josh Reynolds. Who's it going to be? Are they going to be able to take some deep shots down the field that they don't have with Laporta not being there? Is it going to be Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield in the passing game? That's the one thing I want to know. Bless you, Dylan.
Excuse me.
And then also, if I'm the Rams and I'm Sean McVay, I am letting Stafford light this puppy up. Ethan mentioned how bad the Lions secondary is. I know Chauncey Gardner-Johnson just came back from injury, this last week, but with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, thank you, and the concepts that McVay can have, I'm going to make this Lions secondary communicate and try to cover these guys, and I just don't know if they can. And I have Stafford. If you ask me, who is a Hall of Fame quarterback, he's going back home, indoors, climate-controlled weather. I'm letting him air it out. And then once they get those deep shots going and Aaron Glenn has to sit back and maybe play a little cover 2, then you get the running game going with Kyren Williams, like you said, Ethan, there. So I look for McVay and Stafford to come out and just chuck it all over the place. And if Laporta can't go and the Lions can't get the run game going and it doesn't let Jared Goff get comfortable, that's a big problem in this game. And this is going to be some dookie game. There's going to be someone's going to muff a punt or someone's going to run into his teammate on a punt, like the Iowa State game from a couple of years ago. It's Sunday night. Like last year on Sunday night, Hundley was trying to reach over for the end zone.
Right.
The ball got blocked out. Sam Hubbard takes it back. There's going to be a play like that in this game that happens, that changes. I just know that's what it's going to happen, and I'm excited for this game.
And I'll start with the predictions here. Like I said, I think, and all you guys all said too, it's going to be a funky game. Could be weird things that are going to happen. I think this game is going to come down. This game may come down to the whoever has the ball last. And I think the Lions are going to get the ball last, and they're going to go down. They're going to kick a field goal and win 17-16.
Wow. I just can't see this Lions defense being able to hold Stafford to really anything under like 24 or so. But I'm going Rams 30-23. He still owns Detroit.
Yeah, guys, I don't know if this Lions running game is going to be able to get going. And I do think even if Laporta plays with that hyperextended knee and a bone bruise, it's going to slow him down. It's going to aggravate him. I think the Lions are going to be out of sync. And Stafford, he's been there. He's done that, especially with Cooper, calm, cool, collected, Sean McVay, with these concepts that's going to confuse the Lions secondary. Give me the Rams, 29-24.
Okay, we got some scoregamis here. And let's wrap up Wild Card Weekend here with the Monday night game, the Buccaneers versus the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 3-point favorites, road favorites in this game. The total for this one is 43.5, 6:15 ESPN start time on Monday here. And this is to me, this is very similar to last year's Monday night game with the Bucs versus Cowboys, where the Bucs won the division, but they were not playing very well. As of late, the Bucs have not been playing well, even though they have won. They beat the Panthers 9-0. They didn't score. Baker Mayfield is beat up. The Eagles, I mean, there's not enough that can be said about how putrid they've been. Awful since Nick Sirianni told all the Chiefs fans to shut up. And now if they lose, the Eagles could be making a coaching change, which
Mike Vrabel is open, Philadelphia.
No, get him out. No, Mike Vrabel cannot go there. I don't want Mike Vrabel going there. They need to hire somebody. They need to hire like Hugh Jackson or something. And
Brad Childress.
Brian Ferentz.
Yeah. Or Brian Ferentz. Yeah, Brian Ferentz. That is what the Eagles need to fix that offense right now, is bring on Brian Ferentz. But this is, the Eagles defense has been terrible. The play calling is broken. They're just very, very predictable. Jalen Hurts is beat up. I don't know if you guys saw his finger, but that was disgusting. They had a chance they needed the Cowboys to lose, and the way the Cowboys game started, the Cowboys kind of were struggling a little bit in a very winnable game. They just came out and laid an absolute egg against the Giants. This is a game too that I think Todd Bowles, he's going to send a lot of pressures, similar to like what Wink Martindale did against the Eagles, to just put pressure on Jalen Hurts and confuse him in ways that he hasn't seen. And something that Jalen is still not very good at is being an anticipatory thrower, where he can't throw guys open. I think not giving him time back there, I think that's going to cause problems. But on the flip side of it, Baker Mayfield's hurt, and the Bucs offense is also sputtered the last couple of weeks. And how healthy is Baker? I'm not really sure. If Baker is healthy, I really like I really think I would pick the Bucs to win this game, but I'm a little bit on the fence because I think the Bucs receivers are going to be able to stretch the field against the Eagles secondary, but can Baker get it there? Also has a lot of troubles with batted balls. I think this is a game too where the Eagles defensive line could feast. But what are your guys' keys to the game on this one?
There's just so many red flags for both of these teams. Eagles, obviously, that secondary might be the worst in football. To be honest with you, they're just terrible. There's obviously a culture issue there right now, which I think is the bigger issue, and that team. So how are they going to react to that? Because it's very obvious. Hurts and Brown are not on the same page. Every time they throw to each other, it seems like there's going to be World War X between the two. They don't realize their running back's their best offensive weapon, yet we're not going to use him. So, like, I don't know if it's a Sirianni thing. He's just stupid. He's gone crazy. I have no idea. But they have a lot of red flags.
I think it's a Brian Johnson issue.
It could be. Like, it's just something's not clicking there. So, like, something's going to have to happen this offseason, no matter if they win or lose today or on Sunday. But
Monday.
The Bucs, like, I don't know. Like, they're not great. Like, they're decent. Their stats are terrible. They pretty much outgained in every statistical category in offense and defense, or on offense, whether it's passing, rushing. Their opponents have average more yards, more touchdowns, all this stuff, but yet they actually only give up 19 points. So like their defense is actually fairly elite, but their offense is just so bad. It makes this probably the hardest game to pick all weekend.
It really is.
Yeah, this game, guys, could either be like so bad it's good, or one of these teams figures it out and they just absolutely obliterate the other team. I don't know. But one thing I do know is Tampa Bay, they pass block like one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. And Ethan, you mentioned it, Philadelphia's secondary is so bad. Sidney Brown, the one bright spot for them, tore his ACL last week, so he's done. Yep. So if I'm Tampa Bay and I can block up front and I can give Baker time, I'm chucking it down the field. I'm taking some deep shots because I just don't think this, especially with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, I don't know if this Eagles secondary can hold up. And if they can get some big deep shots early in the game to get this confidence going, maybe the Eagles' will to live will just break, because they're just like, we've had 2 defensive play callers this year. Our defense had 30 less sacks than it did the year before. We've lost 5 of the last 6 games. It's like you said, it's just broken and they can't do it. So, and you're Tampa Bay. You're 9-8. What's there to lose? Everyone thought you were going to be 4-13 this year, lining up to draft Drake May. Why not just get after it and see what happens, and have some fun, with it right there. And for Philadelphia, for the love of God, run the ball. I mean, you 2 starters on your offensive line went to the Pro Bowl. 3, Landon Dickerson and then Cam Jurgens and Mulata were backups. Popular fan vote there, but don't let Todd Bowles in this Tampa Bay defense come at you. Run the ball, keep Baker on the sideline, kind of go back to what was working for you well last year, just dominating the line of scrimmage, and then set up the play action game. And when you set up the play action game, then maybe you can hit AJ deep, or you can get Devontae Smith going, or Dallas Goedert on some of those linebackers. But like I said before, Brian Johnson, he got this job promoted to take over for Shane Steichen. He got a job that he didn't deserve, but he checked a couple boxes. Jalen had a career year on a Mickey Mouse schedule, and they were like, hey, this guy knows what he's doing, when actually it was all Shane Steichen. But nobody wants to, actually have tough discussions and self-evaluate their coaching staff and like, you know what, this guy's probably not actually good at his job. But hey, that's not my problem. That's Nick Sirianni's problem. And another thing, if you're Philadelphia, you have to find Antoine Winfield Jr. in every single play. If he's up at the line of scrimmage, no, he's probably blitzing. And he not only is he going to knock you down, Jalen, that ball's coming out. And when he's playing deep center field, you got to find him, because if not, he will pick a pass off. And you know what? I think a turnover 2 is going to be the difference in this game. So we'll see. And then I also think Philadelphia needs to get Jalen going on the run, on the ground. Get his confidence up, because he's at his best when he's running through some people and he's getting some first down with his legs, and he's kind of playing like his freshman year at Alabama. So I guess we'll see. It's an interesting game. I think it could get sloppy, but it also has potential to be a good game.
I'm curious what the over-under on turnovers is in this game, because I feel like this is going to be a game where there'll be at least 5.
It's going to be pretty
probably. I mean,
and whoever commits the last one is going to lose.
You got to think Baker's probably good for at least 2. Jalen's going to turn it over at least once, because he led the league in turnovers this year. And one of these receivers for Philadelphia is probably going to have the ball knocked out by Winfield. So,
yep.
Yeah, like I said right there, there's 4 right there, Dylan.
So, if there's a prop bet for the turnovers, we need to find that and bet the over.
The over.
Yeah. Predictions. I don't know if I can. If Baker was 100% healthy, I think the Bucs win this game, but he's not. And I can't believe I'm doing this, because I don't feel good. Like, it's honestly a coin flip game, and I think, Grant, what you said, this game is going to be so ugly. It's good. game should have been played on Thursday Night Football.
This should be the Peacock game.
Yeah. See,
this should.
The cock. Sorry, this should be the cock.
Yeah, this should be the cock. I still think the Eagles. I think they find enough drives to where they'll move the ball, but I think they're gonna kick a lot of field goals. I think they win 22-20. So the Eagles win, but the Bucs cover.
So the Bucs are actually the great team.
Yeah.
Yes. Correct.
As much as I want to pick the Eagles, they lost to they got shit stomped by an absolutely awful team last week with the division on the line. Let me add, there was no, they weren't sure if Dallas was winning or not. Let's be real. They weren't probably paying super close attention. They still got shit stomped. But I can't pick them until they show something again, and they haven't showed something for over a month now. So we're going with the Bucs 21-16.
All right, Grant.
Changes are coming. Changes are coming in Philadelphia if that happens. Yeah. Oh, Dylan, like you said, I really don't know who to pick in this game. I don't want to pick either team, but I just look at the demeanors.
And you can't pick a tie.
And I cannot pick a tie. The game will not end in a tie. Just the demeanor of these quarterbacks. Baker, he's too emotional and unhinged for me. I think the calmness and the old soul that is Jalen will propel Philadelphia in this game to make one or two more plays than Tampa as a team. So I'll go with the Eagles 27-19.
So, all right. Well, that concludes our NFL Wildcard Weekend preview. And before we get the curveball of the week, we had some news that dropped before we started recording tonight. And we're recording this on Wednesday, and it was reported that Nick Saban has been killed by Michigan. He has been forced into retirement after losing in the Rose Bowl game. He has decided to retire after 17 years at Alabama, a stint as the Dolphins head coach in the NFL, and winning a national title at LSU. It was an incredible run. He, I think that Nick Saban, he had his ways with the media. I think that he rubbed people the wrong way, the way he dealt with them, or the way he acted on the sidelines, where he was not afraid to get after somebody. But I've never really, I've learned since we've started doing this, and I've started to really listen. And that's the beauty of the way our technology has moved to where you actually can see guys sit down, interact in interviews, which really humanizes them. And you could tell that Nick Saban was a guy that cared about the kids, wanted their success. Was he going to get after you, jump into your ass after the other team runs through you like shit through a tin horn? Yes, but so good. One of his players talked about it this year, about how you can't listen to the tone, you have to listen to the message about it. And I think you've hardly ever heard anybody say a bad word about the guy. He, the results on the field speak for itself, and whatever he chooses to do, and he probably is going to go work at ESPN or on the SEC network and do a great job at it. But I mean, he truly was a guy that was all about the work, all about the process. I think he was somebody that loved the film study, loved the practices more than he loved the games. There's videos out there that talks about how the day after they won the national title game, he was already breaking down film of whoever they were playing in week one, or looking at stuff, getting stuff ready for spring ball. That he was a dime a dozen. College football was better with him in it. And truth be told, we probably wasted him being a football coach, because I think if he chose to do something else you look at all the politicians, all the way that world is right now, he would be a no-nonsense guy that would go and make sure things are getting done and handled for people, because he enjoys other people's successes more than he ever cared about other people, his own successes. He enjoyed seeing other people succeed more than his successes, which all the other people's success were part of his success.
It's just crazy to think he's retiring. It came out of nowhere.
It did.
I didn't have that on my bingo card. Like, no. And earlier today, we see that Pete Carroll is no longer the head coach for the Seahawks. Like, what?
Belichick probably done.
Belichick probably done too. Like, guys, we're truly turning over an era in football. Where?
These coaches, it's a lot like those quarterbacks that we grew up with. The Favres, the Mannings, the Bradys, the Breezes.
The Rivers, the Roethlisbergers.
Yeah, Mannings.
All the Mannings. They're all, even Rodgers to an extent. They're all, you can't coach and you can't play forever. And, you want to talk, the one thing that no one will ever be able to do as well as what Saban did, and, Dylan, you've mentioned this all the time, is just to build a culture. And the ones I remember, Dylan, you mentioned how he cared for his players and he wanted their success. No better example than after the title game when they lost to Georgia a couple years ago. He's on the podium and he's with Bryce Young and Will Anderson, and they talk to the players and they're about to go to the locker room, and he said, hey, hold up, guys. And he just talks about how good of a leader and how dedicated those two men were to the game and to their teammates. And they don't make him like that anymore. To do that after you lose a tough game, it just speaks to who he is as a person and how he wants others to be treated with that. It's a special person, and you can't make it up. And then also we always make fun of Saban and we talk about his players would get in trouble and he'd be like, oh, why doesn't he suspend them for a game? They should miss time. And he's like,
kick them off the team.
We're going to handle it internally. Well, you know what? You never saw that player mess up again. So, he was truly a disciplinarian. But you know
Ruggs,
what?
He didn't get a chance.
He was fair, except for Ruggs. But, he was fair and he was stern with his players and he loved them. And also, guys, I think this just proves, I have a hunch, just like what Deion Sanders said, college football need to fix some things. The NIL money, the transfer portal, the early signing period, having to recruit your roster 365 days out of the year, it's too much. Kirby Smart wanted to retire after the COVID year. Nick Saban is done. It's not worth it to be a college football coach anymore. We're letting
Harbaugh's potentially gone.
Harbaugh's potentially gone. He's done with this. Just the entitlement and the pedestal.
DeBoer is a candidate for Seattle. So
there you go. Exactly. Like the pedestal we've put these 17-year-old men who've truly done nothing on and made them feel so special, like these recruiting trips. They're seeing Saban's car. They're putting uniforms on. They're kissing trophies. It is truly insane how we've made these guys who haven't done anything in their life feel like they're the most powerful person in the world. And no one will ever be able to master and put those egos in place like Nick Saban. And it feels weird that he's leaving, man. It won't be the same next year.
Yeah, and not to mention just the way he adapted to the times. You see a lot of coaches who have had tremendous success, fail because their inability to connect with the team and adjust with the way the game has changed. Nick Saban was able to do that after they lost to Auburn on the kick six. They got more aggressive as far as he brings in Lane Kiffin to kind of become more of a pro-style offense. And after that, he brings in Daboll and then Steve Sarkisian, which is more of an air raid, throw the ball around.
Or even,
and then this year,
Mike Loxley.
Yeah. He was the one I forgot about. But the way that he was able to adapt with the times and adapt to the players, the way kids have changed over the years. And I as much as he did change, he didn't change because he was still that same guy. He just knew how to recruit and connect with kids and, showed. And then going this year, back to, more of a traditional run first style approach. and a lot of people wrote Alabama off and said that, you know, they were done, and then that this was the worst Alabama team he's had since his first year there, which all Alabama did was go undefeated in the SEC and make it to the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were to play Texas again, they probably win that game.
Oh, they 100% would have beat them.
So I think, you know, as I bet as much as that loss to Michigan hurt, and I'm done making the jokes about Michigan killing Nick Saban here, but you could tell that he loved coaching this group, and he would probably tell you it was one of the funnest years he's ever had coaching, because it was a hungry team that had something to prove. They heard all the noise about how they weren't the Bama of old and the dynasty was dead, but they shut everybody up and found their way into the playoff, a spot that nobody really thought they were going to be able to make.
Well, and, you know, Dylan, to your point, how he adapted, I mean, it's crazy. He won 4 national titles at Alabama, including his one at LSU, the old school way, where it was big, strong, powerful offensive line, dominating, suffocating defense that just attacked and mauled people. And it was a heavyweight fight, and they were going to knock you on your ass. And then he goes, like you said, we lost to Auburn. Ohio State beat him in a Sugar Bowl. Clemson played him close one year. Clemson beat him. He goes, I need to adapt to the times. I need to spread this thing out, and I need to get speed. And then before I know it, he has those 4 wide receivers in his wide receiver room. You know, the 3 starting quarterbacks. No one else can adjust like that on the fly, and to get these young men to believe in his program and having to come there. So it was truly incredible.
And I just thought of this because the analogy is that because Saban's mentor, it was probably Bill Belichick, and Bo Schembechler, his protege was Woody Hayes, and both their proteges, the guys they looked up to, kind of they ended very, very low, with Woody Hayes punching a player in the throat and Bill Belichick unable to get things right.
Mm-hmm.
And where both Saban and Bo were able to end on top, end on high notes, and end their careers and have much better legacies. And both the coaches, the Belichicks and Woody Hayes, both are tremendous coaches and deserve the flowers, but the last images we have of them as head coaches were not very good programs.
Mm-hmm.
So we wish Coach Saban a happy retirement. He will always have an open invite to come join us on the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. Same goes for Aaron Rodgers. He is suspended for the suspended from the Pat McAfee show, or not going on. I'm not sure the exact wording, but Aaron Rodgers, if you see this, you are also welcome to come join us to talk some ball on the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast, and we'll be 4 guys talking ball. So, guys, quick predictions, and then Grant, the floor is yours for Curveball of the Week. Who is Nick Saban's replacement at the University of Alabama?
Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning?
Dan Lanning.
Oh, boy. Those two, Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart in the same conference. Oh, boy. Good RIP the rest of the SEC.
I'm going DeBoer.
You're going Kalen DeBoer. Okay.
Dylan?
You know what? Just for shits and giggles, we've seen Clemson take a little bit of a bump, a little bit on the downslide. Dabo Swinney, an Alabama alum, I think this was part of his plan, was to kind of drain the Clemson program and go walk into Alabama and take over Alabama and get them back over the hump.
You know, Dabo.
I shouldn't say over the hump, but keep the train rolling. But not Dabo's. Yeah, not. I don't know if I want to go Dabo, but I think it'll be.
I'll say
if I had to guess, it'll be Dan Lanning. I saw a report that said they should have a coach named in the next 72 hours.
Yeah,
I'll say this.
If they don't have somebody.
I'll say this. Dan Lanning is. I mean, Dabo Swinney's one hell of a coach, and there's not a whole lot of money in South Carolina, but there's a lot of money in Alabama.
Well, so that's what all the money they make. That's all. It all goes back to the University of Alabama, because you know what they say. They don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. But, Grant, what do you got for Curveball of the week here?
Yeah, so earlier today, guys, I'm driving home, and I'm stuck at a stoplight, and I'm trying to go through an intersection, and the other way, there was no one coming, but we were stuck at a red, and this car in front of me kept taking its foot off the brake and was damn near halfway out in the intersection. And it just pissed me off so much because I'm like, you being out in the street is not going to change this light going from red to green. Like, that's just unnecessary. You're being an asshole right now. So I want to know, like, what's your biggest pet peeve you see from other people do when they're driving, where you're just like, you can't do that?
Oh, easily hanging out in the left lane. Like, if you're going like 4 or 5 over, like I think that's fine. Like, if you're going a little bit over, but as soon as someone comes up behind you, you get the fuck over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, simple as that. Doesn't matter. You get over, you let them go.
Well, since COVID, when I see people alone driving in their cars with a mask on, that for some reason pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
But, trying to think here, because there's a lot. That, or, the left lane thing. I mean, most of my job consists of driving, so I deal with a lot of people, and North Dakota, there is a lot of highways. So, you're taking a risk crossing into the other lane. And seeing people turn or try to pass you when they are very much cutting it close, and they zip by you and then they almost get hit. Like, that just gives me the most severe anxiety ever.
For me, guys, it's got to be like when I'm, coming on an on-ramp to get onto the highway, and this car who is in the right-hand lane doesn't merge over for me. When there's no one in the left-hand lane, and it's just kind of that common courtesy, like, hey, someone's coming on the highway, I'm going to get over to the other lane so they can merge right on there. For some reason, just drives me up a wall, because I'm worried there's going to be accidents, even when I see it. And I'm like, oh, these two, they're going to run into each other. Something bad's going to happen here. But also, another big one here, people driving without their headlights on. I mean, God, a couple weeks ago, it's snowing here, and it's 5:30 at night. And some guy's just driving down the road, no lights on at all. No tail lights, no headlights, no nothing. It's like, you're trying to kill somebody.
Yeah. Oofta.
It's Yikes. That, or when I was driving semi, when people would pass you and then they would go right in front of you, where it's like, I'm hauling a trailer. It takes a lot more for me to stop than just a quick tap on the brakes. If I'm stopping, I'm going for quite a ways, and I'm taking you out whether you like it or not. So don't cut me off, because but I'm just trying to get home safe. But I think that wraps up episode 1, the Michigan winning the national title edition of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We'll have the segments of the show out on Friday. We'll be we will have you can check us out on all of our social medias at Three Guys Talking Ball podcast on YouTube and Facebook, 3GTB podcast on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Instagram and TikTok. And we will be back to recap and preview the divisional round games next week. Thank you guys for listening.